legacy. So what is it? This is the definition according to the Merriam-Webster dictionary. Legacy is a gift by will, especially of money or other personal property. So in this dictionary sense, legacy is a legal term. All right. And if you Google it, look it up in any other dictionaries, it's commonly going to be seen as law. So it is a legal term. Legacy is also defined as something transmitted by or received from an ancestor or predecessor from the past. So that's why when we talk about legacy, we think about things from the past because it's something that the past has passed on to us. Now let's get into Attorney Patterson's legacy definition, okay? And this is building on our formal and our legal definition, but again, adding our creativity to it, right? Remember, creativity is at the center of all of this. So Attorney Patterson's definition also trademarked. Legacy is living beyond death, living life beyond death. It is the mark you leave behind with the life you have lived. So when we talk about legacy, we're talking about how we continue on our journey in life on earth after we have expired, after we physically expired. We're no longer here. Nobody can give us a hug anymore, touch us, call us, but they can still feel our presence. That's our legacy. What is that? And when it comes to defining what that is, it's going to be different for everybody. Everybody has to shape, create, form, manage, multiply their own legacy. All right. And again, that's why I ask so many questions, because there are going to be so many different answers. So when it comes to legacy, ask yourself. We're going to be asking a lot of questions today. This is just the first set. But just before we even begin to flesh it out, ask yourself, how big will your legacy be? How grand will it be? How great will it be? How long will it last? How far will it reach? Right? If we're talking about living life beyond death, how much further into the future does that go for you? How many people does that impact for you? The mark you leave behind, how big is it? How strongly is it felt? Right? These are the kind of questions we want to start to think about. Now that we have all the tools in place, we know what those are. We know we can change it up as we continue to move on our journey in life and add people to it, take people from it, right? Just increase our entire being. Now that we know what to do with that, why are we doing it? Okay. That's really what legacy is all about. Why are we doing it? So again, more questions when it comes to looking inside to ask yourself, what is your legacy? And I like to call this my, 5 W's of legacy, kind of like the 5 W's of current events and book reports and all that stuff. So the who. Who does your legacy motivate and magnify? Who is it? Is it your family? Is it your neighborhood, your community, your church, your local nonprofit organization? Is it somebody you know right now? Is it somebody you seek to influence in the future? Somebody you seek to meet in the future, like a grandchild you haven't met yet? Who is it? And then yourself. Does your legacy motivate you to take action, to go towards it no matter what? Is it magnifying you? Is it making you bigger, right? Because you're extending it for so many other people. So think of yourself first, honestly, and then your entire span. What does it mean? What does your legacy mean? What does it mean to you? What is it going to mean to other people? What is it going to mean to your center of influence, right? Where does it multiply? Is it within the family? Is it within the business? Is it within the church? Is it within government? I mean, there are just so many different places where you can touch an individual, right? Your spirit can kind of be housed there. And it's up to you, though, to ask where you want to be, right? Where you want to continue to be moving and growing and living beyond death. Why does it matter? What's the reason? All right. Why does it matter to you? That's going to be different for everybody. It's just, these questions to me are phenomenal because they're simple, right? Very simple words. Why does it matter? But they cause you to think so deep down inside. And you just the further you continue to ponder on it, the deeper you get. Okay. When does it materialize? So we kind of talked about this with like the case of a will and a trust. Are you going to start building on it now for you to benefit from now and for your family, whoever to benefit from now? Or is it going to be housed in a will where it takes effect later on in life? Like there are so many different constructions and contracts that you can make about when things to begin, when they can end. So when, think of the wins, think of your timelines as you move on this journey called life. All right. And then again, how does it manifest? Is it going to manifest in a will, in a trust, in a school, in a church? We're going to see kind of all of that and how they come into factor. We're going to our principles of how we kind of accomplish this. But how? Like, how do you want all of these questions? How do you want these people? How do you want the tools to be used? Like, how do you want to bring it about? And then once again, these might seem, like I said, they're simple questions, but very, very deep answers. And some of us may have never really thought of it in this way before. And so it might, kind of shake us up a little bit. But again, it's all about starting where you are. All right. The common fears we discussed that stop people from even starting: fear of death, fear of the unknown, fear of complexity. But once we kind of step up to that starting line, then we get overwhelmed at everything that's ahead of us. Right. I think I made the mention of the marathon when we start to run and we're a mile in, we're 2 miles in, and we realize we still have 20 something more miles, right? It can feel exhausting, overwhelming, like we can't do it, we can't finish it. Just keep going. As long as you start, you will end somewhere. Okay. The key is to just let that fear pass you. Keep going. Keep the goal ahead of you. And then assessing your situation, right? This is also important because right here, like we said, big journeys begin with small steps. So while we kind of start, even if we're at the starting line, we don't really quite know everything ahead of us yet, but we have some kind of clear idea of where we want to go. Start with that. Okay. So, and that helps, that we can do that by assessing our situation. Where are we right now? Take into consideration all the factors in our lives, the people in our lives, our current profession. If we're running a business, how many right now, like everything. And then start to think of where we desire to be. So with what we have now, how can we get more? If we want more, if we don't want more, that's fine too. We can at least start the planning process, right? But start where you are. Start where you are. Don't be afraid. Don't be intimidated. And then once again, our list of questions that can kind of help us assess where we are and where we want to be. So obviously, where are you right now? Where did you come from? And kind of researching and analyzing, reflecting on where you came from to where you are now. That alone in itself can be very motivating, because a lot of people may have come from backgrounds that were significantly disadvantaged in comparison to where they are now, right? But somebody in the past, maybe their legacy was for that person to move ahead of them, right? So you can see the growth in that. And that's motivation to not only continue to grow, but to build that growth gap for the next generation to build upon, okay? So that's why it's important to ask these kinds of questions. And then also, again, where do you desire to be? If where you are now is where you're satisfied, that's fine. If it's not, where, right? Where do you desire to be? What are you hoping for? What much more? If you're hoping for a little bit less, or to start to spread yourself down to the generation now, what is it? What are you hoping for? What do you desire to leave behind, right? What kind of things? We're going to talk about like some more of the intangibles, but if it's property, if it's money, if it's some kind of lesson, what is it? What do you want people to benefit from, that you benefited from, that you gained from in life? Who is counting on you to make their future better and brighter, right? The people, family, friends, neighbors, community, churches, country, whomever. Who is it? Who can you help without ever even meeting them? We especially talked about this in like a philanthropic sense, people that want to donate to charities, people that want to will property to churches to benefit the less fortunate. That happens. So it won't happen though if you don't think about who you can help, how you can get this done, right? And the final question that we all have to ask ourselves: will we ever meet these objectives if we never begin, right? So we might have stepped up to that starting line and we're like, oh my goodness, it's just way too much. But if we never step up, or if we step up and we never go, right? Will we ever meet the objectives that we set before us if we never begin? We have to ask ourselves that question. It's going to be a different answer for everybody.